Hey everybody, this is Ryan over at Stealth. In this training, we're going to look at the true forming back. Some of the things we're going to look at today is going to be a quick overview of TFB. We're going to look at all the contours, cover materials, foams, different materials that make up the backrest, and then get into some of the laterals and mounting hardware and things like that. Alright, let's look at what is TFB, what's the deal with TFB. TFB 107 more specifically is really designed to be a comfortable and custom fit backrest that's easy to deal with. So we're trying to go about this a little bit differently than we have historically. So when we say custom seating and specifically custom backrests here, we're using prefab components to achieve those custom outcomes. So this is going to help us do a few things. Number one, it's going to help us keep the lead times down. So if you stick to items that are on the order form, you're looking at a 5 to 8 day lead time. And currently, as of this recording, we're shipping out more towards the 5 day lead time area. Anything outside of that will increase cost and lead times, but not drastically. We're not getting too much past that 5 to 8 day lead time unless you're going crazy. So Stealth is really going to be strategic about how we open up this TFB business. Really how we're focused on it right now as of today is anybody who can bring guaranteed business to the table, we can start opening up full blown. We'll still do onesie twosies for everybody, but we can't really guarantee we could set up customer profiles and things like that for everybody nationwide and just go full blown all at once, right? We've got to scale it and make sure we're good and everything's ready to go and be strategic about it. Lead times are a major focus and selling point for this product segment for us. Long term, we're looking into some e-commerce platforms to help automate some of this stuff and make it a little quicker and easier on the dealer side from their perspective. But that is a major focus for us. The other thing is quality of material and build quality. That is a major focus. Those are our two focuses. That's how we want to win this business from the other companies, is beat them with lead times and beat them with quality. So material quality is superior to the competition that we've seen so far. Just take FRG foams, compare it to the other HR and Visco foams out there that everybody else is using, and add that with our cool core material, and it's just a much better quality product. And having those prefab components helps us ensure that quality. So we're really focused on that as we move forward with this line. With the TFB 107, this is an E2617 custom backrest, so it does have that custom code. So how this works is basically any selected options or modifications will be rolled up into that top level TFB 107 part number. That price of each modification is going to get rolled up in there as well. Typically that's going to exclude the thoracic laterals, headrest hardware, things like that, but they can be rolled up if that pair source prefers it that way. What I would like to point out before we get too much farther down the road here is that the rest of this training was written based off of the order form or order form items. So we'll be able to do anything you want. To an extent, we'll weigh the pros and cons of being able to do those weird things you might ask for. But I'm sticking with the order form items here. Just keep in mind if there's a rule that says you can and can't do that, it's basically built around your order form. So let's look at your TFB contours. TFB is going to have the ability to be shaped in a variety of styles here. This is going to help us achieve different outcomes out of that same part number. So we have a rectangle and an I style that are very similar. Then you have a contour version in an active, deep, and an extra deep. This is going to be pretty similar to your Cubac 2 with some key differences. And then we have a flex back and an active and a modular and a deep. So we have 8 styles total to choose from. All of these styles are going to have the same fast lead time availability. So what that really means is anything that falls within this matrix is an item we have on the shelf already, prefabbed, ready to just pull, foam it up, and send it out the door. If you want, for example, a 10 tall and 14 wide for some reason, we can still do it. It's just going to increase your lead time as we're going to have to cut that shell separate of everything else. Your TFB part numbers fall under a smart part number system, so they do explain the thing you're ordering if you know how to interpret it, right? So it'll always start with your TFB MD. That's going to be TFB True Forming Back Modification. And then you're going to go in, you're going to choose your width, choose your height, pick your shape, your fabric. In most cases, pick your contour, and then in some cases, pick the mounting system. So once you do all of that, you get nearly complete backrest out of it. When we start looking at the part numbers for each specific shell and contour, what I'd like to point out here is your rectangle and I style share very, very similar part numbers. You'll pick your TFB MD, your width, your height, call out your shape in either R or I, rectangle or I style, then your fabric, and that's it. If you want to cover only, you just add a -C to that same part number, and that gets you your replacement cover. On your contour style, it's a very similar structure. You start with your TFB MD, pick your width, your height. Now we're going to pick our shape, C for contour, our fabric, and then the depth of our contour, active 4 or 6. If you would like it to be direct mount for quantum, you'll add a Q to the end of that. If you want to direct mount to anything else, we have a separate part number on the bottom right here, your TFB MNT -PERM for Permobil, SUNR for Sunrise, or INVA for Invacare. If there's anything outside of that that would be a direct mount, we can't guarantee that we have the whole pattern at this point in time, but we'll definitely work with you to find it. When you move on to your flex style, it's going to be a very, very similar part number structure as the other two. So TFB MD followed by your width and your height, and this time you're going to use an F for your shape. Then choose your fabric and your contour depth in A4 or 6. We don't get the direct mount in this case, simply because there's a gigantic hole there where we would direct mount. But let's move along and let's see what exactly do all these part numbers actually get us. So in rectangle and I style, this is going to be a lightweight aluminum backrest with very minimal contouring. We're going to have a lot of cutouts. And some slight bends at the edge for some minor lateral stability. So it's a pretty flat back except for the far edges. You have about a 15-degree bend on that outside edge. On both rectangle and I style, you're going to have 1/4-20 threads already cut into your shell for your headrest mount. You'll have hardware tracks for laterals or mounting hardware, so you have 2 on the rectangle. And then you'll have a postural support mounting holes in the top and the bottom as well. So you can just go ahead and bolt straight in without having to get a drill out. What's cool about these is you could actually weave directly into the shell as well and drop the hardware altogether. So I've done that before and it works out pretty well. You do have 1/4-20 threads again in the bottom side for your seat to back hinge, should you use one. And again, in between your 2 hardware slots on the outside edges is your 15-degree bend. Looking at the I style is very similar to rectangle. This time we just have a notch cut in it for your I style. So you have the same 1/4-20s for your headrest mount and your seat to back hinge. You have lateral tracks and you have a mounting hardware track on the far outside edge on the top and the bottom. They're not very big, so you can't get much adjustment out of them, but they are there still. And then you do have your 15-degree bend on the outside edges. We do have large holes cut into these. The larger you get in the size of your back, the more real estate we have, so the more holes we get, right? So what these do, they increase the airflow. They let us feel for contact, right, without dumping the customer forward out of the chair. But another major thing that they do is reduce the weight. These are aluminum shells, and we want to keep it as light as possible, so that's what the main purpose actually is. The smaller you get, again, the fewer holes you get. When you get down to about a 10 by 10, you're out of holes altogether. In rectangle and I style, we do have the ability to do a biangular modification. So biangular is really going to help us do a couple of things. It's going to be a hinged section that helps us adjust the angle at that hinged point, and that will help us facilitate that natural spinal curvature. It's going to help us improve that overall alignment, and by doing so, you really help to control that posterior pelvic tilt, as well as fine-tune that head control or build head control in a person who may not have it. You can order it in a 1 or a 2-piece modification. So one piece is going to be a single cover and foam over the whole shell, and a 2-piece would be split at the same level as that hinge is placed, and you have a top cover and a bottom cover. So your rectangle and I style, we do have a little bit of availability things to keep in mind here. We can't let you put a 7-inch tall biangular cut on a 10-inch tall back, right? And then you only have a 3-inch section on the very top. So on the order form, we do call out certain placements here, and we're only going to allow certain placements. So if you get outside of that, we definitely have to talk it through with you before we let it happen. Part numbers are pretty straightforward. Again, they're broken down between 1 or 2-piece modification here. Moving on to the contour style, this one is going to be the thing that's very, very similar to your ADI Q-Back 2. So it's going to have that same shape as our manual chair ADI line on as far as contour goes. This time we're going to have it an active, a deep, and an extra deep for your contour or your depth of contour. You'll have cutouts and slots that are going to be very similar in design and function to your TFB rectangle and I style. But this time around, we're going to have a few added holes for your headrest, so you get a little bit more adjustability there. That top edge is going to have a less severe spinal relief than your standard ADI Q-Back AL series would have. So it'll be a little bit rounded. It's definitely not a flat top, but it's all going to have a standardized curve on the top. As far as depths go, it's all based on an active shell. So your active shell is about 2.5 inches deep. You have no lateral contour or contour supports, anything like that. To get a deep, we bolt on an 1.5 inch lateral support with separate pads and covers. So you have an active shell with some lateral supports or lateral contour extensions is a better term for them on the outside. To get your extra deep, we do the same thing, but this time it's 3.5 inch lateral contour supports. So they're a little bit more aggressive, a little bigger. And again, they do have separate pads and covers for those laterals. So these are your lateral contour supports or lateral contour extensions here. So we refer to them as a 2 inch and a 4 inch. That's what they actually measure out to. Even though on shell they don't add quite so much. They do bolt in slightly offset from the far lateral edges, right? So they can be mounted to the front or the back of the shell, whatever's best for that customer, and they are side specific. So if you notice the shape of them overall, they're not symmetric from top to bottom. So that is how we call them out left to right. When they're angled up, that's the side we're calling out. But what's cool about this is you can have them angled up like you have in the picture and get more support up higher, or you can flip them over, put them on the other side, and put that support lower and maybe grab the top of the pelvis with them instead. So you do also have some rotational adjustability built into these. The mounting holes are semicircles. They're not just a through hole. So you do get a little bit of adjustability in that manner as well. They are independently height adjustable, and they're going to come with the same materials that you choose for your back cover. So if you chose Cool-Core for your cover, these will come in Cool-Core as well. For replacements or additional contour wings, we do have a separate number, and this will help us if you ordered an active and decide that they just need a little bit more contour support. We can add it after the fact without having to do an entire new TFB on them. Part numbers are pretty straightforward here. They are again broken between 4 and 6 inch deep and between all of your different fabrics and left and right. So that's why there are so many. When we look at our flex back style, the flex back is that thing that's going to provide us an area of spinal relief specifically for your kyphotic patients. So it's going to give you that large hole or cutout in the back center for that kyphosis to protrude through. The flex back is going to be available in 3 contour depths, so you'll have an active, a modular, and a deep. To make it a little more confusing for you guys, the active and the modular are going to use the same cover and foams, and And those covers will always include the moldable thermoplastic rigidizers, which we'll cover in just a minute. But then your active and your deep shell start as the same shell itself. So what are these shells? So your FlexBack active is going to be about a 2.5 inch deep shell with a 45-degree integrated lateral contour support. That lateral contour support is non-adjustable, so it is fixed and always there. Your FlexBack modular, I would relate to a grown-up Diego back. So this is going to have a 2 inch deep contour. You start with a flat shell and add 2 inches with adjustable lateral wings that are very similar to your Diego wings. These have been beefed up as the Diego is designed for pediatrics. Those wings don't hold up very well when you start putting real weight in them. When we get to our FlexBack Deep, the far right one, this is an active shell where we've added some lateral support to the far front edge. So it starts as that 2.5 inches deep where we add in a 45-degree lateral on the far edge. So all the contours, you can use a single piece cover and foam. But wrapping your head around the shape of this, I would say picture, if you're looking down from the top, picture original Q-back. That is basically the same shape or contour overall when you're looking down from the top. So the moldable thermoplastic stabilizers are going to really allow us to get that on-the-spot customization for each end user. So what these are is a piece of plastic that sits inside the zippered cover behind the foam in individual little pockets that are sewn into that cover. The top inch or so is going to stick out so you can pull them back out. You can heat them up with heat gun, bend them to the desired shape, and place them back in there. So they're really going to allow for that continual support of changing conditions. The placement will help you rotate that customer back towards a more neutral position. You can get mild to aggressive with them anywhere along that lower lumbar region. So you can really encourage that proper position through positioning these things, shaping them how you need them, and dropping them back in that cover. These are only going to be on the FlexBack, and anything that is 20 inches and below is going to have 2. Anything above that will have 4 of them in there. We can add more upon request though. So these stabilizers are really going to go a long way to help prevent those high peak pressures by providing that more aggressive or more contoured support and contact with the cushion, as opposed to your planer back where that high spot on the customer is the thing that's touching the most on that cushion. So these moldable stabilizers create that support surface that's unique to each individual, and each stabilizer is going to be about 1 inch wide. And again, backs that are under 20 or 20 and under get 2 of them. Anything over 20 is going to get 4. Looking at our cover materials, we tried to match the same thing that you could get on our custom cushion line. So covers are going to be available in a cool core, an airflow mesh, and a stealth tech. We still retain a neoprene for our foam in place onlys at this time. So all covers are going to be honeycomb on the visible non-contact surface, and they'll all have a hook and loop material on the back side. So if you do need more Velcro, it's already there and ready for it. So cool core, everybody should know the properties of cool core by now. So this is a great material. It helps actually wick moisture and transport it away, which helps to regulate that evaporation and keep the customer cooler in warm environments and warmer in cooler environments, right? So it's a great material. It goes very, very well in this line. When we get over to the airflow mesh is really great at transporting moisture and keeping circulation going inside that fabric, and that's going to help regulate that temperature. So it's really ideal for those customers that are in those hot and humid climates, but you do get an increase in static and dynamic friction forces as compared to our other materials. Stealth Tech is our other material, so this is going to be a polyurethane coated fabric, and this creates a waterproof material that still maintains some stretch capability. So you do get a two-way stretch on it, which is a fluid proof cover. So what's cool about it is this is a great option for that person that needs a fluid proof wipeable cover, but still needs some stretch capabilities out of it. And last but not least is going to be neoprene. So we still retain the neoprene for our foam in place options. At the time being, we're testing out foam in place with some of the other materials. So we're sending out some foam in place on cool core and letting some customers try it out and let us know how it works out for them. So this is going to be great at insulating against the cold, but it's going to do very, very well insulating against abrasions. So it's a pretty stout, robust material. Um, and in case anybody does ask, we do use a neoprene with no added natural latex or anything like that. Some of the options we can do with our covers, we do have a privacy flap available for all the styles. They're going to attach with a zipper on the bottom side for most of them. The flex back is the exception, and with the exception of the flex back, that zipper should be sewn in on the bottom already. So if you do select a privacy flap after the fact, you don't have to go back and get a whole new cover made as well. We will be monogramming as well in block or script, and we have 9 colors available. So white, red, royal blue, navy blue, green, purple, yellow, orange, pink, and gray. So the good thing here is monogramming is free. Previously on TFB, before we expanded the TFB line, monogramming actually had a cost to it. So monogramming is free, and your privacy flap is going to only be $95. Let's talk about the foam options. Foam options here will match our custom cushion line. So our foam options are going to include high-end open cell foam. It's going to be a medium open cell, and then the line of Sunmate FRG. So we'll have our extra soft, our extra soft, soft, medium soft, and medium. So quality of the open cell is superior to the others on the market. If you open up anybody else's covers and cushions and pull out their open cell, we're happy to compare ours to anybody else out there right now. We do, again, want our materials to stand above everybody else's, and that is true here as well. And our FRG is a great visco foam that definitely has many benefits over your standard visco foams. Sunmate FRG is a patented visco foam that retains consistency in cold and warm environments much better than others out there on the market, especially better than standard Sunmates do. It's made with a patented all-natural fire retardant, so there are no additives, and it's about 33 to 36% natural plant-based ingredients, depending on the firmness of the foam. What's great about it too is it does inhibit liquid penetration, so it doesn't really absorb like other visco foams do. I'm sure everybody's seen us at the trade shows dumping water on these things, and at in-services dumping water. That goes a long way in keeping that customer cooler and drier. When ordering off the order form for your faster lead times, TFB can be ordered with up to 3 layers of foam. Each one can be either 1/2 inch or 1 inch in thickness, and your part numbers are going to specify base, middle, and contact. So anything more than those 3 layers can still be accommodated. We just need to chat it out with you with one of our CSRs. Again, our part numbers are pretty straightforward here. They're going to start with your TFB for your prefix, FOM for foam option modification, and then you pick your layer, base, middle, or contact. Pick your style of foam, SM FRG, Sunmate FRG, or OC for open cell. Then we choose our density and our thickness. That gives us a lot of part numbers here, so I'm not trying to make you guys memorize all of these part numbers. Just know they do call out your layering. If you need more layers, we're simply going to add, say for a 4th layer, we would add 2 middles. One of the options that's great for your rectangle and I style would be a curve by foam. So those backs are fairly planar. They have a 15-degree bend on the far outside edges, but if that's not quite enough lateral stability for you, we can add more curvature with some ethafoam. So basically what we're going to do is take that ethafoam, cut it in a wedge, and add that in. That ethafoam is a really, really dense foam that does not compress, and a lot of people compare it to styrofoam. It's not styrofoam, just looks like it. Foam in place is still going to be an option for your rectangle, I-style, and contour style. We are not going to offer it on the flex style at this point in time. Just keep in mind you have a gigantic hole cut in the back of that cushion or that shell, so that foam in place is going to extrude out of there instead of wrapping around your customer. So it's going to be available in a half unit or a full unit. And this is going to be a liquid sunmate. It's going to give you a medium sunmate foam once it's done. So it's going to be the 3 chemical method that you mix in a bowl. We are looking into a bag method as well. So this is going to be neoprene covers only for now. If anybody requests anything else, we're going to talk it through with you. And hopefully we'll have cool core at least as another option in the very near future. Part numbers are pretty straightforward here. You have 3 to choose from. You have a foam in place in a 1 unit or a half unit. And we also have a cover for foam in place with 1 unit of foam. So let's say I ordered a backrest and decide we need to be more aggressive and go foam in place, and I've already ordered it. So I do have that TFB MD OF62, which would give me 1 cover and 1 unit of foam, so I can turn that into a foam in place back without having to order a complete new shell and everything. As far as ergonomic options go, there are a couple options that we do have standardized on the order form. We do have a lumbar support insert, and this is going to be an internal pad that's inserted under the foam, and it's going to come in a separate bag so the dealer can install it in the correct position. This cuts down on our assembly time, cuts down on order form items, and cuts down on time that the CSR has to track down where we want to place it. So it's always going to be the same size. It's going to be a little over 9.5 inches long by 3.5 inches wide and about 3/4 of an inch tall. This brings us to our lateral options. So TFBA 107 will have a variety of thoracic laterals available to it. The rectangle style is also available with some lateral wings. And all backs are going to accommodate the standard stealth lateral hardwares as well. The price can be rolled up into that cost of the back if required by that pair source. Starting with the lateral wings, these are only available on your rectangle style. They are hinged, but they are non-swing away, so once you tighten everything down, they are fixed in place. What's great about them though is they do an excellent job as a hip guide or trunk support. They can be angled in as you see in the picture for your trunk, or you can angle them the opposite and angle them outward slightly to guide the hips back into place or really maintain the proper hip alignment over the top of the pelvis. So they do a lot of great things in that regard. They're available with the same fabrics, your cool core, your airflow, and neoprene as well, and that chosen material is going to cover the hardware as well. So you aren't having bare metal exposed to the customer's arms. They are offered in uppers and lowers, so you can only do uppers, you can only do lowers, or you can do all 4. So you really pick and choose how those mount and where they mount. So we do have some sizing references for you. Just keep in mind your depth is typically going to be about the same with the exception of your extra small. Your height is what's really different about these. On lateral wing compatibility, we can't let you do an extra large lateral wing on a 10-inch tall back. We just don't have the real estate for it, right? So there is some compatibility to worry about here. We will have a standardized option that we could choose. If you need something different, we'll definitely ask you about it. Part numbers are pretty straightforward. You start with your TFB MD for your TFB modification, LW for lateral wing, pick your size, your position, your cover. And then if you want to add just the cover only, so you need a replacement cover, add your -C to that. Moving on to your traditional hardwares, all of Stealth's traditional hardware is available on these styles. So this is going to include your TWB link style, your thin series laterals, with or without that articulating link, and your modular. Unilink will be coming soon, so with the launch of our Unilink line through the Stealth side, they'll definitely be available on the TFB as well. Laterals are going to be mounted to these shells with a fixed L bracket. So these brackets are pretty straightforward. They can be mounted to the front side or back side of the shell. I always suggest the front side so the bolts face the rear and you don't have to dump your customer out just to adjust that lateral up and down. You can mount them anywhere you need, maneuver it to the correct position. They're pretty straightforward, pretty simple to deal with. We do have several fixed brackets to choose from though. You guys aren't going to have to worry about this. It's going to be on the CSRs to remember it, especially as they're entering those orders. But your TFB Contour, your Flex, your Rectangle, and I-Style all use a different bracket with the exception of TWBL laterals going on in TFB Flex. That is your exception. Again, don't have to remember this, but I want to point it out so you guys understand that these brackets can't be swapped around for the most part. So if you have an I-Style and you pull your laterals off there and need to add it to your rectangle, there's a decent chance that's not going to work. So just keep that in mind. Hardware part numbers for this are pretty straightforward. The prices are separated for the most part, so we're going to use our standard part numbers and standard pricing here. So nothing changes from what we've known all along at Stealth. If we want to roll it up though, we do have some payer sources that will pay for this hardware if it's rolled up, and in that case we can roll it up and we have different price or part numbers for that reason. So TFB modification prefix, pick your series, so your Contour or Flex, pick your style, pick your side. So again, these part numbers are only used when that hardware prices are rolled up into the total cost. We do have different prices here though. That is one thing we need to remember. So the reason for the different prices for the same part is going to be our discount structures. So when we break it out, your standard lateral hardwares have one discount structure, your TFB 107 has a different. So in the end, with this new MSRP, when you roll it up, your overall cost at the end of the day remains the same. Any of the laterals we offer with TFB are going to be available with multiple pad options. So you can order them as a straight or a curved. You're going to have multiple dimensions you can order them in anywhere from a 3x4 up to a 5x7. We can again do outside of that, it's just going to increase your lead time. Covers are going to be Cool Core, Stealth Tech, or neoprene to match that backrest as well. Part numbers are pretty straightforward again here. So when the prices are separated, you just use your standard part number with your standard MSRP. If you want to roll it up, we can do that for that payer source, and we're going to have a modification part number here. So your TFB prefix with your pad size, your material, and the side you need it on. Again, same idea here. Your MSRPs are different this time around just due to discount structures. So at the end of the day, that pad is going to come out the same as it would for your standard part number and MSRP. Let's move on to your TFB hardware options. In order to achieve that best outcome for each individual situation, we have multiple configurations and options to choose from in each configuration. So we're going to have an ADI series of hardwares you can choose from, as well as our premium series or standard hardwares. One of the things that we need to know going into this hardware selection is full width or between the canes. So full width between the canes really helps us decide which L brackets are going with this, depending on which side you choose. Full width means that we mount the backrest over the front of the canes. This means we can go wider than those canes or wider than the chair width potentially, so we can mount a wider backrest to fit the frame compared to what we could with our between the canes. So in this configuration, back cane or back dimensions I should say can be true to size. So a 17-inch will fit a 17-inch chair. So this also goes a long way to help protect that client from any contact with the canes and anything like that. In either configurations that you mount it like this, you would put the hardware on the inner track. So that is why we have different L brackets, because our inner track is on a different curved portion. On the between the canes version, That means our backrest is going to mount between the canes. It's going to drop in a little farther so you can have a little bit more degree of recline, or mount past the canes and get a little bit more depth out of it. This does require a narrower back in relation to the chair, and definitely in comparison with the full width mounting. So your backrest should be narrower than the canes here. So if you have a 17 wide cane to cane, you should probably be looking more like 15 wide on your backrest. So we will try to get a reference chart out there as quick as we can on each different style, how much narrower you need to go. This setup though is not ideal. It should be avoided if that customer might come into contact with the cane poles or any part of the frame. In this case, we're going to mount to the outer hardware track, so that's why we do have, for example, in this rectangle version, we have a 15-degree bend, so our L bracket would be a 105-degree L bracket. Part numbers will be pretty straightforward. They all start with your TFB, HW for hardware. Pick your profile, so F, C, or R, so flex, contour, or rectangle. Pick the style of hardware you'd like to choose, the number of mounting points, the position, so between the canes or full width, and then the diameter of cane itself. So that means we've got a lot of options on our hardwares. On the premium hardwares, we will have J&L, trouble-free, and all-purpose knob. Each of these styles is going to be available in a 2-point or a 4-point option, and available in either 3/4, 7/8, or 1-inch diameter. For rectangle and I style only, these are your part numbers. So it's going to be called out in either 2-point and 4-point, in full width or between the canes, and also call out your cane diameter. So there are a lot of part numbers here, but we do have a lot of options. Moving along to your contour and flex back style, the part numbers drop down a little bit on our trouble-free side. Same thing in 4-point only, and cane diameters are called out. You do have a lower MSRP and a higher one here. Your lower MSRP is your price on your order form. Higher, it'd be your replacement part pricing. We do have flip block available on this backrest series as well. So it's going to fit, again, multiple cane diameters. It's going to be angle adjustable. You do have some set screws to help you lock in that angle, but you will have 2 inches of depth adjustability and 3 inches of width adjustability on this hardware. Flip lock is labeled as side specific, but it's not really side specific. So mounted as ordered, your left and rights go behind the canes, and you can drop behind the canes pretty deep, up to 2 inches, and it's really nice hardware that way. Or you can swap sides and push forward of the cane. So if you, again, have one of those kids that's going to grow taller before they grow wider, this is a good option because it will let you eat up seat depth on the front side, but then still flip around and come back behind the canes, independent of messing with the seat frame or seat rails or anything like that. It all uses 4mm bolts, and right now it's only available in a 4-point configuration. Reason for that is this was designed for pediatric customers originally, so as a 2-point, it doesn't hold up very well for our adult population. There will be a design change on this in the near future to help accommodate more of those grown size individuals and make this a little bit more beefy, but at the same time reduce the overall profile of the hardware. It is quite thick. Flip lock part numbers are pretty simple. We've only got 2. Either choose your contour or your flex style. Again, your higher part number MSRP is going to be for your replacement part only. When we move over to the ADI style hardwares, we're going to have the quick release and the 2-point Pro available as well. They're going to be compatible with your 3/4, 7/8, or 1-inch again, and these are only going to be available in your 2-point configuration. Part number wise, we do get new part numbers here. Again, the lower MSRP is if you order it with the back. Higher is if it's a replacement part number. TFB can be direct mounted to a number of different chairs. So we have this option where we can cut in the holes for the knobs on Quantum, on a Permobil, on Sunrise, and Rovi. So this is not available on the flex back style, but it's available on everything else. On our flex back style though, we will have our SSAPTB4 interface adapter coming very, very soon. So that will let us mount to a Quantum with that flex style backrest. Direct mounting part numbers are available for Permobil, Sunrise, and Invacare. So they're pretty straightforward part numbers. We kind of covered this earlier. If you want direct mounting on a Quantum, you would just add a -Q to the end of your overall part number, so it's a little easier on the Quantum side. Moving along to TFB headrests, we have a few options to talk about. Headrests are pretty straightforward on TFB. The Comfort Plus is the only option on the order form at this time, but any stealth headrest is compatible with your TFB. So choose that option that fits the best if it's not your Comfort Plus. Multiple hardware styles will be available to choose on the order form. We're going to have our basic, our multi-axis, and our link hardwares. Unilink will be coming soon to that order form, and multiple lengths of down tubes are going to be available as well. So the order form is going to include your HMO 400 and 475. Those are your pretty basic hardware. It's pretty straightforward. Your multi-axis hardware will also be included. That's your HMO 500. Link style hardware is included on this order form in the form of a TWB 480, 480 FDM, and your 485. So we do have part numbers that allow us to roll this cost up into the overall cost of the TFB. So this would be if your payer source requires it or would like it to be rolled up in that overall cost and not billed as a separate line item. So your TFB is your prefix, you pick your series, then you pick your style. So it's pretty straightforward here. So this gives us a lot of part numbers to choose from when we're looking at the headrests that get rolled up. The MSRP again is slightly different. This is because of the discount structures. At the end of the day, you still pay the same for your headrest. As far as headrests go, the Comfort Plus will be available with matching fabrics, so it can come in Cool Core or Stealth Tech, and all the covers are going to have the honeycomb on the non-contact. So basically, this is an upgrade to your standard CP. So it's a pretty nice looking headrest now, and it would match the overall feel of the rest of the backrest. And that's it for your true forming back. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them our way. I'll get you some answers as soon as possible. Other than that, though, take it easy out there. Have a good day, guys. Thanks.